Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly profound psychological and societal roadmap. We're looking at a deeply insightful text by the thinker Ali Mohammed Al-Shurafa Al-Hammadi titled How the Quran Creates a Person Who Knows No Despair. Now, we aren't just reading a traditional text today, we're actually exploring a detailed framework for how to handle crushing crises and build incredible internal resilience. It's a fascinating breakdown of how spiritual texts can function as highly practical blueprints for mental and emotional survival.
Just to set the stage right off the bat, it's important to know where this analysis comes from. This text was issued by the Global Message of Peace Foundation, an organization focused on deep, reflective studies. So, this gives our deep dive today a really solid foundation of credibility. We are looking at a structured approach to navigating modern crises, analyzed through a scholarly lens that connects ancient wisdom with very real, modern human psychology.
I want you to start by asking yourself this. What exactly happens to the human soul when every single door seems slammed shut? We've all been there, right? Or at least we can imagine that heavy, paralyzing feeling. When the future looks completely dark and uncertain, and the pressures of life just keep accumulating day after day. When crises pile up like that, a person can lose confidence in themselves and others, and honestly, lose their passion for life entirely. This incredibly real, incredibly human experience is exactly where our author begins his analysis.
Okay, let's dive into this with Section 1, the nature of human weakness.
The first stage of this transformation arc requires us to look at our baseline vulnerability, and the text asserts something incredibly validating right out of the gate. Human weakness is a natural state. It is not a flaw. Experiencing moments filled with fear, pain, and a mountain of worries, that's simply part of the human experience. It doesn't mean you're broken, it literally just means you're human. Acknowledging this natural state of weakness is absolutely crucial because it sets the stage for where a positive intervention is actually needed.
And this is exactly where the text introduces the concept of the Quranic intervention. The author frames the Quran here not just as a religious scripture, but as a deliberate, active intervention designed to build internal psychological strength. It steps in to construct a steadfast heart. The goal here isn't just to offer some comforting words. It's a systematic approach to prevent humans from falling prey to despair or frustration. It aims to create a resilient individual, someone who can face the messy realities of life with stability, without crumbling, and without living in constant fear of tomorrow.
Moving right along to Section 2, the language of containment and mercy.
So how is this intervention communicated? Well, the author points to what he calls the language of containment, highlighting this pivotal verse, "Do not despair of the mercy of Allah." He points out that this is not a language of punishment or fear, but a language of containment and profound mercy. It acts like a lifeline thrown out to exhausted souls to bring them back to life. It reassures the individual that the door to God is always open, regardless of how heavy your burden is or how massive your mistakes might be. This specific phrasing is designed to restore tranquility and contain our human anxiety.
Which brings us to Section 3, the birth of ease from hardship.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it frames inevitable struggles. Acknowledging mercy doesn't just erase the reality of trials, but notice the precise wording the author analyzes. Indeed, with hardship comes ease. The text emphasizes a really deep vision of the nature of crises here. Ease does not merely arrive after the hardship has ended. It accompanies it. The beginnings of relief and the seeds of positive transformation actually form right within the heart of the crisis itself. Hardship and ease are intertwined. That means even in your darkest moment, the mechanism for your relief is already being constructed.
All right, Section 4, Hope as a Driver for Action.
This roadmap also demands external application, which brings us to how the author defines hope. According to the analysis, true hope is highly proactive. It is not an escape from reality. It is not just wishful thinking or passively waiting to be rescued. No, true hope is a driving force. It requires continuous work, immense effort, and maintaining a positive assumption and trust. It pushes a person to keep going, to refuse surrender, and to actively participate in their own recovery.
Just look at the stark contrast between these two states of being. On the left, despair literally paralyzes. The person stops trying, loses all motivation, and simply surrenders to a grim reality. But on the right, the hopeful person rises again after falling. They keep working. They maintain momentum. The text actually points to the stories of the prophets as practical, living messages of this. They faced massive rejection, harm, and challenges, but their hope fueled constant, unyielding effort. The conclusion is super clear. Despair paralyzes movement, while hope stimulates and regenerates it.
Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 5, the danger of despair societally.
When that individual despair infects an entire community, we shift from the micro to the macro. The author warns that the danger of despair on a societal level is catastrophic. A society infected with despair loses three fundamental capabilities. First, the ability to build. Progress just grinds to a halt. Second, the ability to innovate. Creativity dies when there is no belief in a better tomorrow. And third, the ability to change. The community becomes trapped in its current suffering. A hopeless society becomes entirely paralyzed because hope is the essential, non-negotiable fuel for any form of human evolution or development.
So how do we fix this? That brings us to our final part, Section 6, Prescription for Reform and Trust. The text provides a clear, concluding prescription. The author outlines that true reform requires a commitment to the path of truth and justice, alongside continuous, relentless effort. But the absolute foundation of these steps is planting a deep, unwavering confidence in the possibility of change. The idea here is that doors that seem permanently locked might actually open gently in completely unexpected ways through a vast and overarching mercy. The ultimate objective of this entire spiritual roadmap is for the human being to live away from fear and sadness, resting in a state of tranquil peace and profound trust.
So we've seen how the text maps out the journey from acknowledging our natural weakness to finding containment, recognizing ease within hardship, and using hope as an active driving force against paralysis. I want to leave you with this final, powerful thought. If hope is not just a feeling, but a vital engine for action and a fundamental element in building society, how will this understanding change your approach to your very next crisis? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this framework provides you with a deeper, more balanced perspective to navigate whatever comes your way. Keep learning, keep pushing forward.
مؤسسة رسالة السلام العالمية، رسالة إنسانية لعالم أكثر سلاماً.